Daniel, what's up, man? It's good to see you.
Hey man, happy to be here.
Max, where you at?
Let's see, he's probably joining. I think Alexis as well is coming.
Daniel and his crew is over here to present this, and it's phenomenal. I'm not gonna lie to you. I've seen some early betas on it, and I'm supposed to be neutral, but I'm not very good at that, honestly. It's just I gotta be real. It's a pretty nice. It's a pretty slick setup, man.
Yeah, I mean it's a project that's been a long time in the building. We spent a lot of time playing and learning about the Helium network and all the ins and outs to build it. I'm really happy to finally be able to show it to the community. We're tired of saying soon to everybody on the channel. Everybody coming like, where's the video coming out? Like, oh, working on soon.
So yeah,
but
everyone around here knows, hashtag soon, but yeah, they get tired of it.
Yeah.
You mentioned some kind of thing going on this evening, something special. I don't know what that is.
Oh, this is the party. Just hold on. We'll get around to it. But yeah.
Okay, I have my cup for my virtual champagne. Okay, good.
Okay, excellent. Yeah.
I'm down to celebrate the 100,000 users on Discord as well. I think that's a pretty cool thing to celebrate.
Yeah, that's pretty huge. And this community, I mean, obviously couldn't exist. This whole network could not exist without the developers and the network builders like you, like the folks on this call. And so I just want to say, thank you, for everything you've done for the Helium network to be able to build this up and make it into the IoT network, and to other protocol network that it's growing into. I just sincerely want to thank everyone here.
Cool. I was going to say hello. My name's Alexis. I'm responsible for the sales and marketing of Hotspotty. And we've got Rafaela with us, who's also assisting in the sales and marketing. And just so everyone knows, there's actually 4 of us from Hotspotty on the call today. So me, Max and Daniel, the founders of Hotspotty, as well as Rafaela, who's on the sales and marketing side. So I just thought I'd let everybody know that there's a team of us here today to show off this product. And it's great to see so many people using it already, and we're really excited to show everybody.
Thank you, Alexis, for the introduction. And you can see us by the background.
We've got a little animated background that we made just to show off a little bit.
And so, you know what? Let's just jump directly into this, because there's so much to the new Hotspotty, product that you're releasing, that I really want to take advantage of all the time that we have, this evening. So I'm going to keep admitting people into the room, but if you want to do a quick introduction on your company, on your group, and where you're coming from, where you're based, and then kind of talk about background on initial Hotspotty, and then how you're moving into the new version.
So we're both we're all living in Lisbon, Portugal. We started researching the Helium network, I think summer, like June or July last year. That was kind of like, I'm into electronics, some development. And then when I first saw Helium, kind of like there was this light bulb moment that I was like, oh, this blockchain is insane. And I never seen something with this usage. I was using the Things network in the past as well. So this was like, okay, that was something that I really, really liked. And then as me, Max, and Alexis, we just went for like beers and keep talking about Helium and how it's such a cool project. And since then we started like learning more, and like every day learning, talking about, until we managed to get our hotspots in Portugal. We were like one of the first people in Europe to be able to set up some around here. And every time we had a challenge, we keep learning. We learned like so much through the challenge. For like every time we have like an install, there's an issue, and you learn next time things will get easier. And once we had like over, I don't know, 50 hotspots installed, we started having like trouble to pay people, because it's a pain in the ass to manage everybody, calculate the rewards and everything. Then that's why I decided to I'm just gonna build like a simple website to help us manage our own hosts. And that's when like Hotspotty was created. Initially, it was just something I built for us to help ourselves and have, of course, work with the community. We have a lot of people using it still. There's of course, a few bugs here and there, but we kind of also stopped developing to focus on the new version, because we by the study that we did through the network, the blockchain, we realized there's so much more that you can do, and there's so much value on understanding what you're doing, not just the electronics, but understanding how the network works and the data that's being generated in the blockchain, right? I don't know, Alexis, if you want to add some more.
Yeah, I guess Daniel's sort of ended up where our product sort of cycle ends at the payout. So you do all the hard work, right? You had to order the hardware. Everyone knows that's been quite tough, but we won't touch on that. But so you finally get the hardware, and then you have to find the locations, do all of the installations, and then you find yourself in a situation where actually understanding, HIP 17, HIP 15, how these Helium improvement proposals work, the game theory behind them, the performance of the actual hardware, antennas, the actual topology of the landscape, right? It's all different in different places. So there were sort of 4 problems that we identified. So that was the primary first one, understanding the hotspot data and all of these Helium improvement proposals. And then the second thing was actually optimizing for that. And you'll see when Max starts the demo that we've done a lot of work on the reward scale. So Max did a great job reverse engineering, basically how the reward scale works and visualizing it. We spent a lot of time on that. So basically, understanding the data and then optimizing the hotspots to get the most HNT and the most coverage. And then collaboration was the third issue. So there was collaboration between ourselves. We're a relatively small group. Me, Max and Daniel have been climbing roofs in Lisbon all over the place. So we've got a lot of experience of actually doing that. We've got over 60 hotspots in Lisbon. We were the first to deploy them. So we just couldn't collaborate very easily, right? Ordering hardware, looking at performance together, and everything. So Hotspotty has workspaces, and again, Max will show you that. So the workspaces allows you to invite your team, and then you can all look at the same data. So I won't go into the detail of that, because that's what the demo's for. But then also what's really cool is the ability to collaborate with the community. So people can verify their wallets, and that allows people just to talk to each other. So I think that was something that was missing. I know there's 90,000 people on Discord, which is super cool, but how do you find people that way? And you don't even know if they're the actual person because they haven't verified the wallet. So, I think it is the people's network, but it's only really the people's network if people actually collaborate to improve the reward scale and to improve coverage, and then everybody wins, even though we know that's it's tough to do that. So, and then lastly, so that's the 2 elements of collaboration with your team and collaboration with the network. And then lastly is the payouts, and Daniel's already covered that. So, without any further ado, I think Max was going to take over and show us the product. And you guys, sorry, I'm just going to add, it is in beta. So we're going to probably be in beta for another month. And feel free to actually go to app.hotspotty.net or just hotspotty.net if you want to learn a bit more from a marketing point of view, what the features are. And you can follow along with the demo or whatever, right? It's all of the functionality for the time being is completely open, so everyone can do everything you're about to see at the moment. So yeah.
And send us bug reports and feedback, anything. We want to make the best product we can. So
we got feedback. Yeah, feedback.hotspotty.net. We feature improvements, new features, and bug reports. We've got those 3 categories. So yeah, we're trying to get through. There's been a few bugs, but actually generally we've had we've had a lot of volume, and so far so good.
Take it away. Hey, what's up, Max? How's it going, man?
Hi, good. And you? So let me share my screen. All right. So so this is basically the main view. It's the map where basically everything is centered around. And we'll start with visualizing and understanding the data section. So well, we're in Lisbon, so we're basically starting off with the view of Lisbon. And what you see here to the left is the hotspots section, where you can just scroll down and you see a bunch of hotspots around the center of the map. If you zoom out, there's a purple area, and that basically defines what hotspots you will see here. You can also filter this list by using either custom labels or predefined labels. For that, you need to log in, so we'll not do that yet, maybe later. But it's important to know that this is the data set where all of the visualizations and the data charts, etc., are around, because it shows you also relative performance. And whenever you see something like that, it refers to all of the hotspots within this area. Also, if you move the map around, it will basically fetch new data and it will follow your center of the map. All right. The second tab is the locations. This is meant to allow you to plan your rollout. So let's say you ordered a couple of hotspots and you're basically evaluating where you should place them. So this is the section where you will see all of your locations. And this is the hexes tab. So we will go in more detail regarding this, but basically all of the colored hexes that you see here, these are the origin of the reward scales being less than 1 for any of the locations you see in the map. And you can go to any of them and go to specific details page, which will explain you exactly what's the situation and how you can resolve it through collaboration and through understanding. So let's get back to the hotspots. To the right, what you see here is you can click on this. It will basically follow where you are, which is quite useful if you're out and about installing hotspots and you're trying to find the best place to search your hotspot. Just open it with your phone, click on this. It will center the map around yourself and it will help you in that respect. Then there's 3 sections here, or three action buttons. One is the time travel, the regional dashboard, and the appearance settings. So let's click on the time travel. This is purely for illustrative purposes, but basically you can go back in time and let's go to January, for example. This was the status in Lisbon in January. And then you can basically click through and you'll see that, yeah, obviously there's more and more hotspots. And at some point, there's going to be a pretty exponential growth happening. Yeah, and you can also see the number of wallets that are evolving over time. So there's significantly more people involved in this area. And you see that in major cities in general. Then there's the regional dashboard. So this allows you to basically see statistics of all of these hotspots around, like the number of hotspots, number of offline, the rewards, the history. Also, this is something that we felt was lacking in the Helium Explorer and the documentation, is rewards come from different mechanisms, and it wasn't really clear to us where exactly most of the rewards are coming from, because knowing that is quite important, because then you know what to focus on for optimizing. And the reality is witnessing other hotspots really defines the rewards your hotspots get. At the bottom, you'll see a warnings section, and this will basically list the offline ones, the ones that are being relayed, the terrible reward scores, etc. Also important to know is that you can filter this data. So if you add labels to hotspots all over this area, you are able to filter on it here, which will reduce basically filter the results here, but also filter the statistics here on the spot. Maybe it's a good moment to actually log in. So what we did was, because the whole community is in Discord, active in Discord, and one of our major verticals of Hotspotty is the ability to collaborate with each other. We decided to sign in with Discord. It's just one click away. People have an account, and it facilitates the collaboration aspect by a big margin. All right, so right now you can basically filter on the labels. I didn't assign any labels, so it will have some predefined labels, like what are all the hotspots that are offline? Well, these are the ones. But you can also compound. So let's say you want to see the ones that are online and you want to see the ones that are, let's say, relayed, then this is the data sets. And if you want, you can see the regional dashboard again. It will update all of this data. Then there's the last section, which is the appearance settings. This is not only relevant for just a map, it applies to the details pages as well of the hotspots. System settings for the team, so you can switch to a light team, for example, if you prefer that. I prefer the dark team, which is my system settings. Then distance unit, yeah, that's not super relevant yet, but it does matter to represent it in feet or in meters. And then the currency, yeah, it speaks for itself. Then the layers. So what I showed earlier, the problematic hexes, by default, it will overlay the map with these hexes whenever you go to this tab. But you can also activate it when you're in the hotspots area. And you can do so by clicking here. Too close to witness is also an interesting one. So one of the mechanisms in place to stimulate people for not putting hotspots too close to each other is that it will invalidate witnesses and therefore not reward you if you're too close to each other. And in the community, everyone talks about like 300 meters. There's tools like Helium Plays that show you like grid. We have a different approach. We do all the calculations between all of the hotspots and locations, and then we simply show lines. So whenever you see a red line between dots, this reflects that there's, even though they might witness each other, they will not be rewarded for it. And also if you start doing your planning and you enter the locations where you have access to do and install it, this will also help you to identify if you're violating this particular mechanism or not. Then the elevation contours. This is not yet in production. We're working on this, but from what we've seen is that sometimes, no, actually it's pretty obvious. RF cannot really penetrate giant hills, and by being able to visualize this on a 2D map, it also facilitates you for getting a better grip on which areas might be providing coverage to which other areas or whatnot. And for that, what we decided to do was to integrate elevation contours. So this will update whenever you move the map around, and this is the scale representing the color and the height. So each line represents points of the same height above sea level, basically. So for example, hotspots here will not be able to communicate with Lisbon city center, and we see that in the data. Then I'll just toggle it off. This is just hotspots, locations, speaks for itself. And then there's the actual color of the hotspots, which you can also choose what it represents. So by default, it represents a simulated reward scale. So if you would enable the problematic hexes, you see that the colors more or less like relate to whatever hexes are visible here. It's also useful to put it in this view because we allow you to also simulate what happens if you remove certain hotspots from the grid, and then it will update the color. So without having the hex overlay, you still can see what happens by having this activated. So let's deactivate this. Another thing is, this is a representation of the the data collection and how many of them are classified within a particular like color codes, and then the color codes are explained here. So like this one is a mediocre reward scale, which is values between 0.5 and 0.75. But you can do the same thing for other metrics. So let's say daily rewards. If you would like to see an overview of what hotspots are actually performing way better than others on the map, just by looking at the colors, you can basically explore what's going on and then dive into the actual data by toggling this on. You can choose to make it online and offline as a view. Yeah, let's just put it back to simulated reward scale and finish this section. So now we can jump into the actual hotspots. So I don't know, let's go to this one. 1 second. So there's different tabs representing different segments of data. The first one is obvious, the rewards. What's your performance, how it performs relative to this purple area. So in this case, not so good. Then this is the history. You can make it a 2-week view, 1-month view. People have asked for a full history of the hotspots. We will actually include this. It's not yet available, but it will be. Then there's again the rewards by type, but then for this particular hotspot. And then also, I don't know if you all know that, but basically, let's say that the rewards come from witnessing. These rewards are multiplied by the reward scale. And so it actually matters what the reward scales are of the hotspots that you're actually witnessing, which is what this chart represents. And there's some explanation always. 1 second. Okay, the second tab is the reward scaling section, which will give you an in-depth understanding of what exactly is reward scaling, how does the Helium like reward mechanism work. There's some terms that are a bit different from the Helium Explorer, and some people have asked what the reward factor is. It refers to how much you'll get rewarded by witnessing this hotspot in terms of the calculations from HIP 15, but we'll also rename it a little bit to make it better explained. So yeah, this is a giant hex, what's actually causing this problem, but let's go to maybe this hotspot. What you'll see is the reward scale is pretty, or the transmit scale is pretty low. And then the question is, how can you resolve it? Here you can see that the reward scale calculations are made up of calculations done on different resolutions. So basically there's small hexes, there's big hexes. Each dot, each hotspot is part of multiple of those hexes. This will explain you which one of these hexes is actually exceeding a certain limit as defined by the chain variables, and how you can actually resolve this. So let's simply go to one of them. So this hex can actually be resolved using different strategies. One would be as simple as just moving some of these hotspots out to another area. That's not always that easy because like people don't really want to do that, and I understand. So that's strategy one. You can simulate how to do that by clicking the simulation button. So let's do this. And what will happen is it improved the situation. So it didn't fully resolve it. You can actually keep clicking until it's completely resolved. And what it actually did was it removed 4 of the worst performing hotspots by just simply disabling them, right? They're still there, but it's a simulation. It's just an example of what you could actually do. So let's say that these hotspots, you actually want to achieve this strategy, then you would be able to communicate with these people saying like, look, I have a bunch of locations available, way more than I actually have hotspots. These are good locations. Maybe we can collaborate, and I can install your hotspot there. We do a profit share, and then everyone's happier. So this is a possibility.
Man, that's awesome. And I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm going to here. For the people who don't really understand what HIP 15 and 17 are that you're referring to with the analytics here, could you take a step back and maybe explain what we're talking about here?
Yeah. Okay. how can I do that? A step back. So maybe.
Sorry, I didn't mean to derail your presentation here, but
Yeah.
I don't want people to get lost here. So
Yeah, no worries, no worries. So basically, HIP 15 and HIP 17, they're basically explained in Helium improvement proposals that dates back from mid last year and was eventually adopted by Helium itself, and HIP 15 as well. So more detail you can read here, but that's quite technical. In layman's terms, it's basically a way for so HIP 17 is a way to geographically stimulate spreading out the network equally and penalizing like geographic proximity, but still allowing for a healthy redundancy in case of like major cities that just have a lot more need for the network. So it's quite complicated. The way it's realized is by basically it uses a geo-indexing system developed by Uber, which is called H3, which basically has an overlay. It indexes the world in terms of hexagons at different sizes. So you have like this hexagon, for example, is resolution 7. The large hexagon is probably resolution 4. And so for each hotspot, you'll see that it's part of all of these hexes. So resolution 10, you can click on it. You'll see it's a very tiny resolution. If you go to resolution 4 or 5, it's a pretty big one. So what HIP 17 basically does is it will provide a certain target density. So it basically tells to be able to provide good coverage for this area, we would like to have for this particular hexagon, let's say 2 hotspots. And so it will stimulate people for actually providing this coverage. But then the moment more than 2 hotspots are actually covering this particular hexagon, it's overly redundant, the coverage, and then you'll start basically sharing rewards. So it will limit the rewards for that, like for the hexes in this area. And then HIP 15 does kind of the same thing, but it looks at the actual like proof coverage activity. So HIP 15 defines for a given proof coverage, like a POC challenge, how many witnesses were actually able to witness the transmission, and then it will define also a target redundancy. So basically what we want is we want 4 hotspots to be able to witness a particular beacon, and if it's less, there's still room for more redundancy, because what if 3 of them fall offline, like they're off grid, and there's still 1 that can provide the coverage. But what if there's 20 hotspots that can actually see this beacon? There's not a lot of extra value to it. So the amount of rewards that you'll get by witnessing that particular beacon just decreases the more other hotspots are actually witnessing this, and that's HIP 15. Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know if this makes sense, Travis. Like, was it?
No, that's perfect, and thank you very much. I just wanted to make sure that everyone was kind of on board about what we're talking about with HIP 15 and 17, you know, and the data analytics that are being pulled from those HIP proposals. So thanks, man.
Yeah, exactly. So this will continuously be expanded. So our goal is really to make it also educational for people, because it is not easy to fully understand it, and we'll try to make it easier. Anyway, let's go back to this hexagon. So a second suggestion that we provide is strategy 2, and what this will do is you are allowed to put more hotspots in this hex, as long as neighboring areas are also reaching their target density. And this basically models the need for larger cities with a lot more need for the network. to still allow you for having a higher density of hotspots. And we also allow you to simulate using this strategy because it's a lot easier, right? Like it's a lot easier to add a hotspot than to remove one. So if you click simulate here, what it will do is it will use the locations, the plant locations, to add a couple of locations here and simulate it as if there were actually hotspots. And in this case, it added 5 locations in total in neighbor hexes C and D. So it's this one and this one. So this is one. If there's a small ring around the dot, then it means it's a plant location. There's this one, there's this one. And you could actually now go here and see those locations. So it will add to those locations and attach a label. The reason we do that is because we also allow you to undo the strategy, because I mean, it's highly unlikely that you actually have these locations. It's just for educational purposes that we do this. And then by clicking undo strategy, it will simply remove these locations again. So I'm not going to talk too much more about this part. It should be quite self-explanatory. You can see the hotspots in there. You can click here to actually start contacting these people. There's one thing that's also experimental, but we'll be able to spawn Discord channels in order to communicate, to basically start a conversation, and then people can start collaborating. Like I'm not sure if it will work because it's locally, but yeah. So it did the job. It created a channel, and here you can then start actually communicating with people other than a direct message, which we also provide as a solution. So let's close this. Let's get back to the hotspots. Okay, so reward scaling. Then there's also, you can manually toggle them on or off in terms of like reward scale calculations. Then there's the witnesses. This allows you to see, as a transmitter, for example, this hotspot saw 80 witnesses, of which 10 of them were invalid. You see the occurrences, you can see why it was invalid. And this is also an interesting use case because, as you can see, it's kind of strange that it cannot connect here. And the reason is that here there's basically a hill. So if you would enable the elevation contours, you'll see that that's actually the reason why these signals are being blocked. It just cannot go overshoot this hill. All right. Then, yeah, this is, again, data analytics. Then there's the contact owner section. So what if you actually want to collaborate with this person? How can you achieve that? Well, we cannot really just allow anyone to message anyone without proof that they actually own this hotspot, because otherwise it becomes a mess. So what we basically did was we came up with an idea where we could allow people to send a small donation, which will allow us to prove that this transaction actually came from the wallet that controls this hotspot. And therefore, we can allow people to actually reach this person because we know, as a matter of fact, that this person proved ownership of this hotspot. So we allow anyone to just like send messages to hotspots, and then you can unlock these messages by verifying your wallet. That's the way it works. So yeah, maybe we can actually verify a wallet. So let's send, yeah, let's go to this hotspot, whatever, verify a wallet. It will go through like a step-by-step process. You can do it by yourself if you want to. Continue. Basically, in this step, you can scan this with your Helium wallet app, and it will already pre-populate the amount that you agreed upon earlier, which actually you can choose. The minimum is 0.1, but obviously we're kind of in beta, so any higher donations are always welcome to support the development. So you can continue, go to wallets, and then now we entered the workspace section. So the workspace section allows you to add wallets just like this by searching for a hotspot like dry bone you can just select a hotspot and it will automatically add the wallet containing this hotspot along with all of the other hotspots. So it's a pretty easy onboarding process to track your hotspots. So let's actually verify this wallet. I can quickly jump in here and do it with a script.
Maybe just so people understand, Max is just accelerating this process rather than actually sending the HNT. But this is live in production, and we've had hundreds of wallets verified already. But I thought I'd just add that, Max.
Yeah, that's a good point. So it will also send you a reminder email with some explanation. And so now it's verified successfully. Then you basically get also an email. All right, so it's completed, which now means that if you actually go to your hotspots, they will have a badge that they're verified, and this will also appear over here. One little trick that you can do, by the way, to highlight or basically to filter your hotspots in here is you can go to your workspace, to your wallets, add a label, for example, my hotspots. Yeah, there's a little bug here, but to assign a label to the wallet, but as well as to all of the hotspots associated with this wallet. So if you now go to the map, you are able to filter on it. So my hotspots, and it will show you the ones that are actually yours, which also means that, again, the regional dashboard is now basically the same as your workspace dashboard. So yeah, just wanted to highlight this. Yeah, so now that we've verified the wallets, we are able to receive messages. So as you can see, this is another hotspot, and this has a contact owner section, but then your hotspots actually have a messages section, which will allow you to actually see the messages. So I don't know actually how to go forward to send a message. I guess I can send a message to this one. So hi there, what's up? So I will actually verify the wallets just so you guys can see it, I guess. Or actually I can open a new workspace. So let's create a new workspace. Workspace 2, just to simulate another user verifying this wallet, so you can see how it works. So the workspace 2 can basically see that this hotspot received a message, and let's say that it's my hotspot and I want to claim it. I can verify the wallet, go through the same process.
Yeah, so like until that hotspot or that wallet is verified, we kind of like cache all the messages, and then as soon as you verify the wallet, then you are able to see all the message that was sent to your hotspots until then. So like we don't need to wait until someone to verify the wallet to be able to send it, right?
Oh, that's cool. That's very cool.
So if now you go back here to this hotspot, you'll see that there's messages 1, and that's exactly what you're sending. So, and there's also an email being sent. So wallet verified successfully. Yeah, it might not be here because this is locally, but you should get an email with the message as well, so that you don't have to constantly monitor your hotspots. Another way to see it is in the list of hotspots, you get also the messages, and okay, this doesn't seem to be accurate. Okay, there's a bug, we found a bug. But anyway, this will also show.
Did you send the message to our hotspot from the other one?
No, we send a message.
You have to go to the other workspace now.
No, to this one. So
okay,
like this is part, yeah, it's part of the workspace. So careful, setter, careful. This one has 0 messages.
Yeah, okay,
anyway,
cool.
It's a bug, but
yeah,
it's
small thing.
Yeah. So regarding Workspace 2, so what we now illustrated is the ability to basically communicate with each other across the network, the Helium network. there's also a way to communicate or collaborate with each other within your team. So we know that managing like 5 or more hotspots is not something you typically do alone. So having a team also makes it harder to actually manage who did what and who's taking care of what. And in order to facilitate that, we have a concept of workspaces. So workspaces basically will contain all of the data entry that you do within the workspace. And then this data can be shared with team members. So we can actually go invite a team member, for example. So let's just do like.
And Max, someone has a question as well. Do you want to take questions in line, or do you want to kind of wait till the end here? Or yeah, Simon, you have your hand up, man.
Are you sure? I could totally wait until after the presentation to bring it up. I'm literally using it while you're presenting right now. So for one thing, this is fantastic. Great job, everyone. So I was going through the simulation for the reward scaling by density. I really like the how it will let you know on which resolution that you are getting hit on that affects your transmit scale. That is super, super valuable. And so when I select on the Res 5 one and I go to simulate the optimization strategies, awesome. Another very great feature. Under the limit card, the max density is actually, so would increase to 400. So I'm not sure if I just read this correctly. It now changed the limit from 100 to 200. So is that telling me now that 200 more hotspots can be in this area, or is it telling me the max, like, is it telling me now it has changed to 200 available, but should that number really be 400? I just wasn't too sure on that part where with the limit.
Yeah, okay, no problem. So I can explain that quickly normally. So as I said before, there's a target density, and that's basically the default, like the starting point. And up until so many hotspots, you are allowed to add in this area. The moment you exceed it, the value starts becoming less than 1 for that particular hexagon, right? So this limit can be increased. And the way to do that is to actually achieve the target densities to basically reach this number in neighboring hexes, like the hex next door or like the hex. Basically, yeah, you know what I mean, right? The ABC, etc. But then again, it depends on exactly what resolution you're talking about to know exactly how many of these neighbors you need to reach the target density in order to increase the limit. But in your case, it would go from 100 to 200. That basically means that you're now allowed to add up to 200 hotspots in this area and still remaining with a transmission of 1.
Okay, so it's telling you what more you can add. It's not changing it's not letting you know the max number, the max density number. Okay, that's where I was just kind of confused at. Cool.
So here it's 250 that's basically the limit, but there's way too many, right? So it's not that you can add so many 250 more. This is the limit. And also maybe worth noting, and this gets really technical, and I didn't want to go that level of detail, but it's not just the number of hotspots you can count. If you read the HIP 17 proposal, it will explain you that only interactive hotspots are being considered for these calculations. An interactive hotspot is a hotspot that has successful proof coverage activity within the last 2.5 days.
I would think this number would change from the limit on the Res 5 from 100 to 400, not 100 to 200.
No, that depends on how many neighbor hexes are actually reaching the target. So there's a maximum like limit that you can achieve, which is 400, I believe, in your case. And
Yeah.
then there's a starting point, which is probably 100. And you can level up kind of depending on how many neighbor hexes reach their target. So if you, I don't know the exact numbers, but let's say that you need like 2 to actually reach it from 100 to 200, and then a third one will get you from 200 to 300, fourth one from 300 to 400, a fifth one will not do anything because there's a maximum that's achieved. All right.
I didn't mean to derail things there.
No, yeah, no, just
but-
continue. I think I got it. I'll let you finish the presentation. Maybe just continue on. I'm
All
sorry.
right.
I think
And
we'll
also,
probably
you
do
can
a
always-
separate. I was
you
going
can
to say
always use-
perhaps we'll do a separate Helium hacks that just goes into the detail of the reward scale, because I know Travis asked Max to explain it, roughly how it works, and he explained it. And then there was obviously this other question and answer, and it's actually quite complex. But the idea is that Hotspotty makes it easy, but actually people want to actually understand it, right? As well,
Perfect. And, let's absolutely have, you folks on another time to kind of go into more details here, but let's get through the demo on Hotspotty.
Also, we haven't even started with the documentation and in the teaching documentation. So there's still a lot for us to build and to teach others to use the platform and use the network, right? Like the whole goal is to build the best network and the more like spread and best coverage, so everybody wins. But yeah, we're working a lot of documentation, so that's going to help a lot.
So we just invited this person. So I have another browser with another Discord account. So basically, this email will go in, and then if you click, you can basically claim this membership of the workspace. So yeah, it's just a matter of accepting the invitation, and then you're in the workspace too. So notice workspace 2 is the same one, but it's a different user, and you immediately see the same data, and you're able to communicate with each other. So yeah, so I'll just maybe go back to this hotspot and start commenting. Okay, so you also have the ability to tag each other, and that will send an email. So I believe you can actually get this email here. Yeah. So you were mentioned in the following comments hub like this. I'll just copy the link address, open it here using this user. Yeah, we need to work on loading spinners, but basically, yeah, this is the way for you to start communicating within your team on particular topics. We're just showing it for hotspot, but we have different concepts. We have the placements, like the locations. We have installs. We will have contacts. As you know, we're also providing a full payout management system, but it's still being ported from the V1 to V2. But that requires a lot of like discussion within the team. Like, hey, can you ask for this person's HNT wallet, or hey, do you know what's up with his hotspot? It's offline, etc. Just makes things a lot more easier because it's contextually. This, for example, shows if the hotspot is online. If it's offline, it makes it like, just a breeze to contact the person responsible to the hardware section of your operations. Yeah, and then there's the info tab. The info tab is pretty straightforward, just some data, but it will also allow you to open, for example, like this location within Google Earth. So it will allow you to inspect the topology a lot easier like that. I'll just close it. So that's the hotspots section. maybe we can go back here and talk about the locations section. So you can either add locations manually by just saying like pret 80. It will allow you to just autocomplete the information, give it an installation height, let's say like 15 meters, save. So now it's here, and as you can see, it automatically has a reward scale simulated because actually it is part of the map. So that can be it can be a little bit confusing because currently the reward scale simulations are only done within the purple area. So if you add a bunch of locations and they're like over here, it will not show the the simulation value, but that will change in the future. Now maybe what we can show is the ability to import. So you are able to import locations using KML or CSV files. Right now it requires a semicolon delimiter and these fields in the first line. So yeah, we might make it a bit more easygoing, like with the comma, but it was the latitude and longitude that sometimes can have commas that can fuck things up. So that's why we decided to do.
Max, would it be correct to say that Hotspotty, it's an online management tool for hotspot customization? Would that be a correct analysis of what Hotspotty is?
I'll let Alexis answer it.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been doing the marketing for Hotspotty as well as deploying all these hotspots as well. But essentially, it's quite a lot of things. I mean, the best sentence, I had a friend who works in PR in tech, and we went over this a lot. But basically, we say you're all-in-one tool for building the Helium network, understand your hotspot data, plan and manage your hotspots and payouts, collaborate with the community and your team, optimize network performance and HNT earnings. And the best thing to do is actually go on our website to have a very quick summary of everything that Max is explaining. But essentially, it does all of those things. Very, very simply, it's what is it here at the bottom? Sorry, just one moment. I'm just looking at my own website here. So yeah, so basically understand, optimize, collaborate, and pay out. So at very high level, that's what it does. Understand the data, optimize all of the locations, collaborate with your team and the community, and then you get your HNT, and that needs paying out. So you do the payout. So essentially, it's all those four things.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. So so as you saw, there's the ability to import using KML file. A KML file comes from Google Earth, and that's a tool that's actually very useful to plan out your installs because it allows you to actually see the topology very well. So we have this project here with a couple of addresses. So you can simply export it as a KML file, come to Hotspotty, import locations, drag it in, import. And it should be able to, to list all of your locations. What it also does is it added a label based on the name of the file, which allows you to, like, let's say that you have several teams scouting for locations and they're providing you different locations. You are able to structure data this way. And you can also add other, like, let's say like this is a rooftop or something. You can use the labels completely however you want it. Basically, that's the reason why we build it pretty generic. Is everyone has their own interpretation, their own way of managing their own workflows and their own language as well. So we decided not to have any opinions on like how to structure your data. So that's the way to do it. So now you can actually visualize, you can see all of these locations here to the left, and it will immediately classify them based on the reward scale. And this also allows you to filter based on that. So let's say that you have the locations here and you only want to, let's say, whatever. You only want Andre's location, so the other one is removed, and you want the ones that have a mediocre reward scale, then you have these, and then you can simply export them. So for the sake of like showing you, actually, let's do it. So export locations, it will throw you a CSV file that you can then import back again, and it will throw you a KML file. This KML file will actually just can be opened here, but the color of the placeholders will reflect the color of the simulated reward scale. It's also a nice visual way to plan or to prioritize your planning. Then there's contacts and installs and payments. So this section we already added it because that's just how many of you guys work. Is your locations, they're not falling from the sky, they're coming from people, and in the end these people might become your hosts and you want to manage like the payouts, etc. So they're all interconnected, and therefore we also allow you to import contacts using CSV files, to be able to specify their HNT address, their phone, etc. And soon you'll also be able to link locations with contacts and vice versa, which will facilitate the ability to manage your payouts in the future. But that part is still being worked on. I will not go too much in detail, but the installs will be an essential part of it. An install basically defines which hotspot resides on which location in which time period. And then based on this install, you'll then be able to specify payment agreements to the people that are relevant. And these people will be automatically suggested based on the relationships with the location.
I was just going to add, Max, it's good as well because it allows you then to redeploy hotspots as well, right? Like it's a timing issue and that all links up with all of the other data.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that's why there's an install date and an uninstall date, right? So that you can understand when the payouts or whatever finish on one client or one host or whatever, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And sometimes you want to do the payouts in the end of the month. And you might actually uninstall hotspots in the middle of the month, and you don't want to deal with those calculations and payouts at that point in time. You can simply specify that this happened, and it will basically keep track of, like, at each point in time, which hotspot was where and who gets owed what amount. And in the end, it can just spit out the payments that you need to do. So yeah, that's that. This is a quick search box. So if you, I don't know, you can basically find any hotspot and go like that from any screen. You can do the same with addresses, like the one I was showing earlier. This one, for example. Here it will denote it with a special icon because it's one of our locations that we just added before. If not, you can also just click on any of them and it will add the location. Should add the location. It didn't. Well, I don't know why. Anyway, there's still bugs and we'll figure them out along the way. So I would say to conclude it, there will always be questions. It's completely normal and it's a new product. So we actually are really grateful for your feedback as well. We have a documentation section that's being worked on. We have the ability to actually open intercom if you want to have a direct line of contact. Of course, we're a small team, so don't have like lengthy conversations if it can be explained in a feature request, for example. There's feature requests that you can upvote. You can add new ones. We do our best to reply and to classify them. But again, we already have a roadmap that we're still working on. So when there's a lot of upvotes, of course, we'll consider it. But we also don't want to lose too much track of our own plans because we have a pretty good idea of what's necessary because we speak from experience. So yeah, I think that's it.
Daniel, yeah, we have a Discord as well, right? because obviously the feedback's good for the actual product, but sometimes, people just want to hang out and talk about the product, and it's awesome to have people hang out there and help each other out as well. Like obviously we're there and we try our best to answer all of the questions, but feel free to hang out there and ask us stuff. It's a place to collaborate on the product as well. So, if you want to join our Discord group, we'd love to hear from you there.
Yeah, and we're gonna keep improving every day almost, right? So feedbacks also help.
Maybe one other thing I forgot is, so let's say that you color this based on the number of, let's say, valid witnesses. You can actually see these values here and they're sorted. So yeah, it's a nice way of exploring like your area and the hotspots, and maybe get in touch with these people. Like if there's some really outperforming all the others, you might get in contact with them and ask them how they do it, and like maybe you guys can learn something from each other. So yeah, it was quite technically challenging to get this all done, because the network grows exponentially, and therefore also the data being passed back and forth. And then there's like places like New York who are just massive 10,000 hotspots. It becomes really challenging as well to keep this a nice user experience without like an extremely slow loading page all the time. So yeah, it's been quite a challenge, but we're happy with the results so far. So we hope you are as well, of course.
This is fantastic, guys, and gals. But I mean, if I just go on to Hotspotty, onto the new setup, then enter my wallet, and it will automatically pull all of my hotspots in, and then I'm basically sitting in the same situation that we are looking at right here, right?
Yeah, and also over time. So the moment you connect your wallet, if you add more hotspots over time, it will just be reflected in your wallet. So you don't have to manually add them to the Helium wallet app and then to your Hotspotty account. It will just automatically do this. So
Yes.
is that sharing, or like how does it work?
Yeah. Hi.
Hey, ciao, Bell.
Hi, how are you? Nice work, hats off. Excellent work. What about the feature of, do you have sub accounts, if we can manage, you mentioned the workspace, but you have any feature for accounts, sub accounts that like one managing many hotspots? And many teams, every team is managing like 10 to 15 hotspot or 50 or whatever.
So, I mean, right now you can have multiple workspaces. So that could be we don't have more than one level of workspace, but you can have multiple people in workspace. Let's say you're a company that you manage 2 teams. So each team can be a workspace. You can be the manager of each workspace, and you can add people, and you can add different levels. Right now, we only have like, it's going to be a user and an admin, but we plan to add more sub levels for each user. So maybe they can only do certain things.
No, actually more sub levels. I mean, parent and child. Maybe this child cannot see another. You can see, the parent can see all of them, but
I mean, for example, if you are the admin and I invite you in one workspace and Max in another workspace, you and Max can't see each other because you are just part. You can only see the workspace that you are part of, right? So in a way, it's similar, but yeah, it's not different levels.
Maybe like just an example of how we use it, because we're finally using our own product, even though we wanted to use it months ago, because it made our life a lot easier. But like, so we have our core team of people that have been doing the installs, but then you've got like maybe referrals that give you locations. You've got a guy that might do the installs for you. Then a guy like Max and Daniel who really understand the reward scale, who are like analyzing those. So you can have a workspace for like referrals. So like just add someone and then add that person, and then they can just add locations for you. And then I could then invite, for example, Max to that same workspace, and then he could look at those locations and then get back. And then we could have like another workspace for the actual installer. So those locations then move from like reviewing to actually, like confirmed. But the actual installer doesn't need to know all that other stuff, right? He just wants to know where they're confirmed. So yeah, when we've had a lot of feedback on the feedback.hotspotty.net already, and I guess the challenge we love the feedback because there's always different use cases, even though we've installed like over 100 hotspots between us. Like Daniel and Max were touching on, understanding the logic and the flow and trying to create best practices for 80% of the market is a challenge, but we think we've got the right approach rather than perhaps too many edge cases, and then it gets really super complicated. Having said that, the sub levels, like if you can't achieve what we've been talking about using this approach that those examples I gave, then we're still quite early. We're still in beta, so we're going to be taking, if you submit something to feedback, to Hotspotty feedback, as long as it's sufficiently detailed that we can understand actually how it's supposed to work, we'll definitely be looking at all the feedback, even if we can't necessarily implement it. But the logic's super important for us to get right. So all of these things, we're listening to people.
We'll be happy to discuss it. Anyway, I booked already with Spiller tomorrow session, so we'll discuss about that.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
For a long time in the beginning of the process was a lot of work. For me, it was a lot of work on the ETL analysis. And then Max was like going crazy and doing the front end stuff. And I have a feeling that the first time that the Helium API went down was because of Max was building the front end, relying on the open API. But at that time, we were already being able to like check the hexagons and figure out best places to install. Okay, we have to be away from downtown because that doesn't make any sense anymore. So let's look at these neighborhoods. It's been a long time already. We could already use like a very alpha version of the application to help us deploy. And of course, now it's way more fine-tuned that more people can use. But so exactly, we kind of like use it to build it's like satisfy our own needs. And with that, we try to help others and build a platform.
There was a question that came up in chat here. I guess kind of talking about pricing and talking about there was a earlier question about mapping and how this is kind of tied in, because or what are comparable services?
Yeah, so sorry, is that question about like our pricing, what we intend to do with pricing, etc.? Basically, yeah, we know that there's obviously existing competition out there. We've been building this for some time. All our backgrounds are still in IT, even though I'm not a hardcore coder, but I'm more on the sales.
Super shady coder.
Yeah, super shady coders. We like that comment these days. We need to get some t-shirts with super shady coder on them for anyone who understands that. But so anyway, yeah, when it comes to pricing, like I said, there's those 4 areas, sort of understand, optimize, collaborate, and pay out. And we want to provide as much of our tooling for free. But at the same time, we use SaaS products ourselves, and we're quite familiar. I've been quite familiar with just the pricing of these. So whatever pricing we do come out with in in 1 or 2 months' time, we want to make sure that it offers value for the problems that people are solving. I know that's not a direct answer, but we know how difficult all this stuff is, and we know that there's small installers that might just have 5 or 10. Perhaps we can give most of the stuff free to someone like that, but there may be, a package for, so I don't know how you describe it, Daniel. I can't remember what we called that nickname, that one.
I don't remember, but yeah, like different,
different
tiers.
Yeah, like tiers. But
hobby, we call it hobby.
Yeah, like a hobbyist or whatever, So, but we understand how long all this stuff takes to do it in like, Google Sheets and then whatever, right? Is in the looking at a CRM here and then all this other stuff. So we want to put a pricing structure in where people will just be like, take my money.
Tools like this, if you make one mistake with the deployment, then if you could save that, then you've paid for the cost that you're ever going to spend on that product.
Yeah. Well, everyone knows how long it takes to like, understand what's going on, how long it takes to collaborate with yourself, how long it takes to do payouts, how long it takes to optimize, you know, like all of these things take up a lot of time. And so we want to put a price in that's reflective of that time, but also people will be like, yeah, that's awesome, I'm happy to pay that. So yeah, we're going to have a few different tiers, and we want to give as much of the visualization and understanding. And I think the confirming your wallet, you know, because we really want to push the collaboration side, because we feel that, you know, we're onto something if we can improve the reward scale, but that requires collaboration. And that's something that, you know, we already touched on. I won't repeat that too much, but, you know, we'd absolutely love people to collaborate more, not just, but also just to be like, look, you're installed. It's really hard to find motivated people that easily, you know, that are local to you, because you just don't know who these people are, right? They might only live 500 meters away, but you can't contact them, you know. And actually a lot of the time we all love this project, right? As much as, you know, we want to commercialize it, we've been breathing helium for like a year, you know that, Travis. We've been pretty close.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, so, what you should do here is you should put a video of a rooftop install on your donation page, and just say, hey, you don't want to do this.
Yeah, man.
I mean, we want to save you as much time as possible.
We were in the roof and it started raining once, and it was so slippery we had to like, you know, like ninja style to the roof, like down.
Yeah, we're quite lucky in Lisbon that we can, the access to roofs is much easier than, like, for example, the UK, you know, and but yeah, we have a lot of fun videos and photos of what we did. And yeah, so we actually need to do an About Us page, and we're looking at doing a pretty, you know, nifty video to show that. So sorry, yeah, so I guess that answers your question regarding the pricing, and hopefully we'll have something within 6 weeks or so.
So how big is your team, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, well, I guess there's 4 of us here, and I guess we just have part-time people. A lot of them are friends of ours, or, you know, I guess our backgrounds are kind of like, you know, development and IT. So the core team is the 4 people that you see here today. And then we have, you know, some more developers that are working on this, and some more people working on the marketing. Yeah.
But actually, we have great people working with us. Yeah, it's like, because it's a fairly complicated project that we started pretty much, like, it was just me, and then Max started doing the front end, and Alexis helped with the, and then we're like, okay, actually to deploy these on time and what we want to do, it's going to be really hard. So we were very lucky that we found some great people here in Lisbon that's been working with us to speed up the process, and it's been super nice.
Yeah, I was going to say, if anyone wants to help us with the documentation, I mean, obviously we're going to be writing this ourselves, and we want the quality control, you know, make sure that it's good. But if there's any enthusiastic people that want to assist us in that, you know, you can hit us up or whatever. I'd be interested to talk to anyone that would want to assist in that. So yeah, we're a reasonable sized team, pretty motivated, and yeah, we think within a month or 2 months we're going to have a sort of commercial, which already stable, and we've only got, you know, a very small amount of bugs, but within 1 month, perhaps 6 weeks, we're going to have something, you know, super solid available for the market.
I don't know if you said this before, and forgive me if you did, but is there going to be an ability to pay for this with HNT?
Yeah, a lot of people ask that, and I've seen someone was asking that on the other day. And I think the problem is with that is just it's so easy to use something like Stripe and do the recurring payments. And if you want to do something like that with HNT, you've got to write something for it. And we could absolutely write that, but even writing that is it's a chunk of code, right? That's like probably 4 days development work, or maybe 2. Or whatever. Anyway, something like Stripe does it super easy. So I saw, you know, that someone asked that on the Discord the other day, and everyone was like, no, we're not developing it. Having said that, we'd love to be able to accept crypto. You know, we think that the crypto, we won't talk about it too much, but we think it's likely to appreciate. So we'd rather have crypto perhaps in some cases than fiat.
I mean, yeah, it's hard to, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, no, go ahead, but sorry.
Yeah, no, like what you said makes sense. So like, for example, for like some sort of recurring payments, I think makes more sense to use Stripe. But I mean, we don't have anything exactly planned, but imagine if there's a specific thing that costs like one-off, then that could make sense to use HNT for that, right? And also, donations are also in AT&T, just in case. We've been a self-funded team, so donations are highly appreciated.
But we also run our own Lightning, our own Lightning node and stuff like that. So, our backgrounds aren't just in the development of Helium. We all like, me, Max, Daniel, Rafaela, we all like the blockchain community and what it represents. I know that's a whole massive rabbit hole, but so yeah, if we could accept it, we would, but we'll just have. I mean, also feel free to put it as a suggestion on the feedback. If it gets enough upvotes, then we're more likely to prioritize it.
Lisbon has a great crypto community, so if you guys are ever in town, let us know. We can go for a beer and show you guys around.
Yeah, we use a SaaS project just called Canny that's really popular with. I saw it. I quite like DeFi, and I saw this Canny project on a lot of DeFi projects, and it was just such an awesome way to allow the community to reach you without having all of the administration. Like if we talk to everybody about all of that, we've got like 30 submissions in like 2 days. We just wouldn't do any work basically. But having said that, we'll review it, right? So it's a really slick way of collecting feedback and actually letting the community help build the product as well, right? Because that's what it's all about.
Very cool.
Sorry, could I give some feedback about the feedback form?
Sure.
Yes.
Can you allow multiple images to be uploaded? Because sometimes it's easier to explain with screenshots.
I think you can. I don't know. I saw people doing multiple, or the same multiple.
I think what would really help, and actually what Canny should do, even though it's its own feedback system, and I've actually put some feedback on its platform, is that I don't know if you guys have ever used like Loom before. Actually, Max introduced it to me. It just allows you just to take recordings of your screen, and obviously you can be in the video as well and talk. That is so much easier to understand what's going on. Sometimes people write in the form, like, it's just not working. It's just like, that's probably not going to get answered. It's just anyone who's like, you don't even have to be a super, engineer just to, I mean, we're very grateful for the feedback, but Canny doesn't offer that. But what I could suggest, and we want to maybe build that into the feedback of the feedback, is that people do Loom videos, because they're like 100 times better than explaining it in writing in 2 images. So maybe that would be,
I didn't even think of doing a video. I'll get on that.
Yeah, we're going to probably ask a bunch of people to do Loom videos. I mean, we already have a little bit, but also our messaging when we get back to people, we want to, have something a bit consistent so people can actually describe what's happening in a way that we understand, so we can obviously bug fix and understand the ideas that people have got.
Otherwise, great site. Love it.
Thank you very much.
This is killer. I mean, I'm a fan. We've kind of chatted, a little bit prior to this, and basically it was just feature after feature after feature. I'm like, wow. I mean, my mind was really blown with what you folks have rolled out here. So.
Well, it was cool for us to be able to just almost have our own private messaging through one of your hotspots, right? Because we both validated our hotspot, so we could just talk to each other.
That's quite cool.
Yeah,
that's quite cool.
It's quite cool.
No, that's very cool. And if anyone doesn't have an account, pick one up. And I don't even think all the functionality Max really ran through tonight. But you spend some time to explore this, get an account, and it's pretty phenomenal what these folks have built out